Hello, beautiful people. Hope you're good. Today, let's talk about God's voice, about the noise. Wait, do you actually hear from God? Because if I'm talking about God's voice and you don't hear from God, this is out of topic for you. So, how do you actually hear from God? And how does God speak to his people? So, God speaks to us in one way or another, and he used different ways, and the common ways are through his words, by the Holy Spirit, and through his creature, which is people. So if you don't read his word, how are you expecting him to speak to you? And by the Holy Spirit, by the inner voice, the Holy Spirit will speak to us. And that inner voice that's come from the Holy Spirit sometimes is very small, seems small because of the noise around. And then thirdly, by the creature, by people around, unknown people or known people, by our friends or our family. So if you don't read his voice, if you don't read his words, he will use other ways to speak to you. He will use people around you, he will use creature, he will use the inside voice, the Holy Spirit. So what are actually the noises that are around you? Because we have different noises. Mine might not be yours. So there are big major noises that we might have in common, which are, I will list out 3 or 4. The first one is the noise of voice of culture. So the voice of culture is very loud. It's loud because it's from the society, from what we see online, in our culture, things that are being done, even though are not correct. They have a high impact on us, and what we hear in our culture is what we practice in our lives. So listening to this pastor, he was asking this question, and I want you to ask yourself this question as well, which goes by, what percentage of your thoughts, words, or action are a result of the news you are watching or social media you're following, and what percentage of it is revelation that you are getting from God's word? So in other words, what voice are you actually listening to? So this question is for us to do an introspection over it, and I guess we all have different answer anyway. So the second noise, or the second voice that we all all of us hear, it's the voice of criticism or judgment. So this voice it's come from yourself or from other, actually. So when you listen to this voice, it means you're not listening to the voice of God, because this voice will criticize you, will judge you, and will make you feel less. So you just need to remember that you are who God says you are. I am who God says I am. You must really beat your chest up and say, I am who God says I am, no matter what people are saying, no matter what bad mouth people are saying behind your back or in your face. You must remind yourself that you are what God says you are. And you can read this in this verse. So the third one is the voice of condemnation, that voice that Satan puts into people. You've condemned yourself about your past, about even little thing or big thing, it's depend. But this voice of condemnation will keep you far away from hearing God's voice, because you keep on condemning yourself, feeling like you don't deserve forgiveness, you don't deserve God's mercy, you will think you don't deserve God, But this is from the devil. Just don't listen to this one. And then we must actually turn off all these voices, all these noises around us, for us to be able to hear the one that we're actually supposed to be hearing. So it's when I was reflecting on this song came to my mind. It's a French song. It says que tous les autres noms disparaissent jusqu'à ce qu'il n'y ait que toi. It means, may all the names disappear until it's remain only your name. And then I was putting it in the same context of voices, right? May all the voices disappear until we only hear from God, because that's what we're supposed to do. And then the fourth one, it also came to mind as I was reflecting on this, meditating on this, the voice of sickness. Like, some people have embraced their sickness, they've personalized the sickness. You know how people say, disease name, this name. Don't do that. And then they will start listening to the sickness, not knowing that the living God they serve, is above all this and can heal anything. So don't listen to the voice of sickness. Don't listen to the doctor's voice. I mean, what the doctor say is just him from science, from experience, but God is above all of them. So the voice of sickness will make you wear the sickness, will make you identify as that sickness. So don't do that. All these voices will just keep you away from God. So how do you tone down all these noises, all these voices around you, and only listen to God's voice? It's by practicing how God speaks to us. Do you get that? By practicing how God will actually speak to you, because we are supposed to identify God's voice as quick as possible, because I know we all know our friends' voices. We can identify 10, 15 different people's voice. Why can't we differentiate God's voice from the evil voice? And also we must keep in mind that God says in Isaiah 55:8 that my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither my ways your ways. So whenever you have a quite different thought or way that's come to your mind, that's come through the Holy Spirit, don't question if it's yours, because God is holy. He cannot, our sinful nature can't come up with holy thoughts. So whenever you have a thought that's knowing yourself you wouldn't bring up, don't even question yourself, is this actually from me? Just know it's from God, if it's good, if it's a command. And we shouldn't mistaken God's voice to comfortable voice, because God's voice won't always be the comfortable one, because we want to be pampered, of course, but in the comfort zone, that we will not find how can I put it on? You will not find growth with God in your comfort zone. So God will speak to you and give you instruction that will sound like punishment. It will sound like something you wouldn't do by yourself. So you will ask God to guide you and to give you the strength to do what He's telling you, He's asking you to do. Because hearing God's voice is one thing, but putting into practice is another thing. Obeying that voice that you are hearing is the important thing. You can't just hear and sit down. You need to hear and act on it. You can't just get a message and you don't act on it. Then what's the point, right? So the second of this video is that you need to turn off the noises that is around you. If it's culture, sickness, condemnation, criticism, whatever it is that is the noise that you're listening to, just turn it off. Turn it off today for you to be able to hear from God. And how do you do that? You read His word, you discern when the Holy Spirit speaks to you, and how you also listen to godly people, God-fearing people, when they have a message from God for you. You listen to it, you discern it, and put it into practice. It's not just about turning off all the noises. It's about listening to God's voice and obeying to it. Yeah, that's for today. I hope you will hear God today. Bye. See you next Thursday.